Hello and welcome to Mid-Atlantic Weather, an update. I haven't done an update in a very long time, but there's so much going on. I thought it would be important to at least share where we are today, where we're headed over the next couple of weeks, what I think weather-wise, if you care. Anyway, I think it's pretty obvious for some people as they're looking out the window this morning that it's snowing. And you're seeing that there is a big winter storm going on in the Mid-Atlantic states, down into what I would call the south, honestly. The biggest snows that are going on are really out in this area here in southwestern Virginia, but there's snow all the way up into Virginia, and it's just about to reach into the Charlottesville area. It's probably started just now, and it's about 9:30 on Sunday, December 10th. Actually, it's 9th. I can't read here, but anyway, so the snow is falling in areas all in this region. Actually, along the southern area, you're seeing a mixture of sleet freezing rain as it got a little warmer. And I'm going to explain a little bit of why this was a difficult forecast actually in the next couple of screens. We're going to look at my forecast totals, which I'll move this around so you can see it. I'm off a little bit. This came a little further north than expected, and there was a reason. It had a lot to do with the storms, and that should maybe have said the 8th to the 10th. But anyway, the storm, as it was going through Texas, there was some digging, as you call it, a little more energy involved with the storm in that area. That energy is kind of fizzled out a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying there's not a lot of moisture with this storm, but it did tend to pull the moisture field a little further north, and just enough to bring more Virginia into a winter storm than originally anticipated. You can even see me late yesterday afternoon not really thinking it would come that far north. A lot of these areas are getting snow. It's just probably the northern extent is a little extended, and people are going to see more like 4 to 8 in that 3 to 6 inch area, and the 6 to 12 may have needed to be expanded a little bit further north and a little bit further east. Now, the southern part, because of that push to the north, where I see the mixing and ice storm type of capability or possibility, I definitely see that as remaining. But there's quite a thump of snow out in the front of that. So if you get around to this area, the North Carolina, Virginia area, if you were to take this line down, maybe 3 to 6 should have been extended out a little bit like this and then further shunted to the southwest. So there may be flurries up here in Northern Virginia, but once you get to about Fredericksburg and north, nothing really accumulating is going to occur. Let me show you yesterday's moisture. This in Texas, Lubbock, Texas, got 10 inches of snow. And that wasn't expected. There was quite a bit more snow that came out of this system than originally thought. And that had a lot to do with things because, as I mentioned, when the low dug a little further like this, the energy came around, it pushed the ridging, or what are we going to call it, some of the stuff and the wind out in front of it a little further to the south. That's caused more mixing into North Carolina, which wasn't expected, and more snow to just slip up into Virginia. That's very common. I mean, it's not unheard of that you're getting a northern move, but I mean, the models have just been so consistent nonstop that most of Virginia wasn't going to be in a major snow band. And my hats off to people like if you go and look at the Virginia Weather Network guys, they held it's pretty firm that snow would come back into Virginia as a major deal. Now, why it came into there was probably a little bit unknown from the dynamics that were going to actually happen in Lubbock and things like that. And honestly, if that hadn't happened, I don't think Virginia would have been nearly as much in the snow as it is today. But hats off because they didn't change their forecast and it did come back north. Very typical that storms dig a little more than we think, have a lot more moisture on the northern shield than we think as they approach, especially southern systems that are so moist. They have a chance to overwhelm the atmosphere and cause more moisture to the north. And that northern extent of precipitation is hard to see. So anyway, things are there that should have said, hey, this is going to come a little further north than what I thought. So as I mentioned, this should have all been shifted, honestly, except for the part over the mountains, which again, 12 to 20 inches, not out of the question. Some of these people are already seeing in excess of a foot already. Some places may approach 2 feet out in that region. And anyway, so that's not a surprise that they're getting pounded because of the snow. But as I mentioned, this place with a mixing ice storm, I think the ice storm makes sense, but maybe it cuts down more on the snow in that area. And my little light blue line needed to be extended a little further to the north like this, probably. And the And then I should have had um, maybe like, if I go back here and actually point out it, this line, oh, hopefully I can do it. I can't even get it to draw. But if I had done this, I probably should have done this line more like this, and then come around, and then shunted this more like this. And then this line, if I had just done more of a line that had been maybe a little bit further north like this, that would have been good. And honestly, because of the fact that it came a little further north and there's so much moisture, maybe some of these areas are going to see 4 to 8 versus 3 to 6. Another good forecaster, DT, Dave Talaris from the Weather Risk Network, had also seen the further extent. All right, haven't gotten into much more here. So again, this is just yesterday. Yesterday, this is kind of our morning dynamics. This high to the north is really why Northern Virginia is not going to get into the snow. Now, there's even more reason why this high is so far south and pressing down. It has to do with a very anomalous or out of ordinary lobe of what we call a 50-50 low, which is important, a block here in the northern part of the Atlantic that is bringing colder air and what they call confluence, but it's just pressing of cold air here down east of the Appalachians. You see the cold air damming, that's just curving these lines. It looks kind of like a U east of the mountains. That's typical, but boy, it really is strong. I mean, it got super cold here in Northern Virginia yesterday. It was down to 15 degrees. It's still 26 degrees this morning, and temperature hasn't really budged much at all. Flurries may make it up in the northern part of Virginia today, but as I mentioned, nothing more. So where are we going this week? Hold on real quick. My quick thoughts are that, first of all, the storm is going to try to wind down, and will wind down over the next 24 hours, but in North Carolina, it's kind of weird. There's another secondary piece of energy that's going to try to slide through, and it could cause some snow and snow showers and sleet and freezing rain and mixture and things of that nature all the way into tomorrow and even later tomorrow. Now, obviously, the warmer it gets, probably more sleety than snowy, and then tomorrow, if it cools off in the evening and overnight, it can turn back to snow all the way to the coast. There could be some snow. So I'm not saying it's going to necessarily accumulate, but North Carolina really got quite the storm system. And about a week ago, or a little over a week ago, I thought this was all coming into Northern Virginia, but that pressing low and that anomalous low really pushed it down. This is the highs today. You see them in the 30s. It's cold. I mean, some of these low highs have already been reached because as the precip came in, it knocked the temperatures way down. As we look into Monday, we get up into the 40s. There's going to be a lot of melting. As I mentioned, there's still some snowing and some other things down here. Plus, you have snowpack on the ground, so keep it in the 30s. Not out of the ordinary. Again, it's all below normal all week long. As we go forward, they're going to see that we're slowly rebounding and starting to see an increase in temperatures. By Wednesday, even more widespread 40s, but getting closer to 50, and then boom, on Thursday, you're going to start to see some of these warmer air and warmer temperatures starting to appear. What we have is we have another low pressure system coming across the country. It's been a train of lows and precip over the country, it seems, over the last, year. I mean, we're record territory as far as the rain amount in many areas. More is coming. This is going to be a fairly potent storm, and it's going to drop a lot of rain now. Thursday, you can see these temperatures up into here in Northern Virginia are still pretty cold, and along the eastern side of the mountains. There could be some cold air damming, which again is this cold air slipping down east of the mountains, and so that Thursday night into Friday morning there could be some freezing conditions. But you see by Friday, I mean, the temperatures are now rebounding pretty substantially because of the storm system, and it could rain quite a bit on Thursday into Thursday morning and Thursday night, Friday, and into Saturday. But you can see it's getting fairly warm. I mean, this is the warmest temperatures a lot of these places have seen in a little bit. So removing today's snow and actually just going with day 6 to 7, look at how much rain is forecast by the Weather Prediction Center. I mean, we are approaching here 3 and 4 inches of rain in areas, and even 1 to 3, maybe 1 to 2 here in these mountain regions. And this is not the snow that you're seeing today. This is new rain on top of it. Flooding concerns obviously go up pretty dramatically for whatever snowpack's there. You get this much rain on top of it, and warmer rain too because it's coming from the south. And flooding potential is pretty high, I'd say probably for parts of the Carolina later this week. So it's going to be a concern. with all that precipitation around on top of and rain around on top of the already saturated ground. Where do we go from here? A lot of you will be encouraged to see that in the longer term. So we're talking about the 6 to 10 day forecast here. So this is valid for Friday through the following Tuesday. Above normal temperatures are going to come. That low is going to push warmer air in and bring in more Pacific mild air than Arctic air. And that looks like it's going to stick around for most of next week. And so that's kind of where we are at this point. Now I can tell you the longer term is going to struggle a little bit because the pattern is going to go through some oscillations here. It's going to warm and relax, as we say. The pattern is going to be come warmer, more not tropical, but Pacific warmer air is going to penetrate the country, and the snowpack is actually going to get eaten a little bit, even all the way up into Canada. The temperature is going to relax again, but it looks right around Christmas week, so we're talking 3 weeks out. Honestly, that we could see a turn towards colder again towards the end of the month. Now, originally, in my thinking and forecasting for this entire winter, I thought it would be late December into January that we'd start to see these chances of snow come up. The fact that in November, areas of the northern mid-Atlantic got into the snow quite a bit, and that we've had really a cold month plus in temperatures is really quite phenomenal. I think you do go through relaxing spells during this time period, but it's going to cool down again. And I would say that there will be more storms to track, probably starting even maybe Christmas week. It'd be interesting that we could get something around Christmas maybe, or a little bit after and beyond as far as winter weather. But before then, a parade of moisture and rain. I mean, what I'm not showing you is the outlook for precipitation, and it's fairly substantial for over that time period. So continue to enjoy the snow. Flurries may make it all the way up in Northern Virginia, like I mentioned today, but heavy snow from about the Charlottesville to Fredericksburg area, probably a little south of Fredericksburg, down into Richmond, and west really of 95, and then kind of in a southwestern trajectory down into the northwestern part, honestly, of South Carolina. Expect a very substantial snowstorm today and icing along that border counties, as I mentioned before. Just take it easy and expect a crazy day. Cold day in the north with a lot of clouds and a wintry feel, but not much snow. But in the central part of Virginia, down into the western part of North Carolina, wow, what a day for snow. Enjoy it. Sorry for the long talk here.